government. We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
Okay, we just went live again with the second Anonymous Bites Back Asia episode, and we have our amazing panel is back in with people from Hong Kong, Nepal. I'm waiting for one more. That's Pratik, and we also have AK in from the USA and myself from Europe. But these episodes focus mostly on Asia and what's going on there. And we go live every Sunday. And please start sharing out, because some very important information is always given here that you won't find anywhere else. So it is worth it for you and for others to hear. So welcome back and thanks everyone for listening. I don't know what we should start with. Like before the show, we were talking about that new outbreak, right, of pneumonia in China. Is that what you want to talk about, Tree Fisher?
Yes. So now, I just checked the news. So recently, China has put out its first case of death caused by the virus. So, well, let's say, and for no reason, when I check the news about it, it's only the Chinese media. It's reporting like tens and like let's say like tens of cases occurring in Wuhan. But on the other side, the Hong Kong authorities are actually receiving also tens. For now, it's 67 cases of the suspected Wuhan pneumonia cases of virus. So we suspect in China actually the outbreak should be worse, to be honest, because we actually had probably everyone would, like most of the people in Asia might have remembered that in 2003 we had the SARS outbreak, and that time it's because of China trying to cover things up, and it caused the virus to spread through Hong Kong and to the whole world. So this is terrifying, to be honest. Yes.
Okay, yeah, because it's a very crowded area, and you believe that the Chinese government is like covering things up because they don't want probably because they don't want mass panic or whatever, or they don't want to have instability or whatever.
Yes, it's a lot of times about a lot of times it's all about stability, because they actually use a lot of censorship of very they use the censorship of like sensitive words to actually maintain their dominance of their opinion on the internet. So it was a lot of cases. They censor out bad news. They censor out a lot of news that actually possibly damage the stability of the rim. So that I think that it was. We have no doubt that actually the outbreak should be worse than what their own propaganda, the media would actually describe as.
Yeah, I don't know. Personally, it seems like a very, very bad move for like these dense populated areas. Like, I'm from a dense populated area myself, and I know like in the Netherlands is the densest populated area in Europe at least. And I know if something happens, then actually they have to make it worse. They have to say it is worse than it is to contain it. And that people actually get prepared for it, and they like wear like masks or whatever, and they or they don't go out uh, that much, and they make like preparations for it, and they do checkups and all these things because it is very dangerous. Like the only way to keep stability with such a thing is to actually inform the people. But that's just the strategy here, I guess. But it seems to be different, which is kind of
Well,
shocking.
you get the rosy pic. They will paint out the rosy picture to, as always. So there are voices. There are a lot of voices are actually covered up by the cover up by the well Chinese the pro Chinese communist government. So yeah, some we are there's a underneath there's a lot of distrust going on.
Yeah, I understand it. How are they doing this in the USA, AK? If something like that happens, if he's still here.
Yeah, yeah, I'm here. I just wasn't paying attention. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, with like an outbreak like that, like an illness like this, like the pneumonia thing. How are they doing it in there? Like I know in here they create like mass panic because
There's been talks of the flu being more active this year than most years, but as far as I know, there hasn't been that many deaths so far. I mean, I'm not saying that there hasn't been any deaths. There certainly has, but it hasn't been as high as numbers as say like the swine flu or um, H1N1 or anything like. Or, no, H1N1 is swine flu. So yeah, it hasn't. There hasn't been as many flu deaths this year. So
yeah, like I don't know how many people remember like the well, there's no one alive anymore from that time at least, but in the history books you know about the influenza pandemic, like the Spanish flu, right? That happened in
yeah,
1918.
right. Yep.
Yeah. So, and 500 million people were infected around the world, and they say between 50 and 100 million people died because of this.
Yeah, that was one of the most deadly, or if not the deadliest flus in history.
Well, it haven't been the wars even spreading the flu. So it gets worse at that time without the proper treatment. So in,
Yeah,
uh
that's true.
so this so based on because of this pneumonia, it's quite stirred of the fear in the people in Hong Kong that they actually started them they actually started to stock up a lot of masks at home, and then because people and then people there yeah and we and now I think now we can see in the streets that people are starting to wear masks around walking around in the urban area. in a city area.
So I heard you guys mention before the show that it was like very similar to like the SARS thing, right? Like 80% similar or something.
Yes, yes, yes. 80%. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know too much about viruses, but apparently, SARS in 2003 was caused by a certain a certain official in Guangzhou hiding the fact that there was a virus and then letting it spread to Hong Kong before realizing it's too late to say anything.
Was that the same case where he was working on a virus in a lab and it got loose, or is that a different case?
That's a different case because from the SARS actually, I don't think it originally came from. I don't know if it originally came from China, but it spread. It spread from China to Hong Kong and then to the different places in the road. I think.
Interesting. Okay.
I think. I was only. I wasn't very old when SARS happened, I've only been reading the news.
Understandable.
Yes.
Well, at the time, what can I remember is a lot of them, they sort of change a lot of their hygiene habits. Like they actually insist on, because the Chinese people, they eat by chopsticks. Before they just like, and we have like, we share, like, Chinese people, they share their food with, they share their, they have a bowl of rice and they share their food with, then they use their own chopsticks to pick from. They actually change the habit to have a chopsticks over here just for picking food and putting into their bowl. And other habits, like they wash their hand before they eat, all that kind of like, and all that kind of habits. And do and they had that kind of common sense that when you're sick, please wear a mask, or people will be surrounding you, will be giving you stares. So it's a kind of it, I think that for now it's so this new Vermont is, it has stopped the fear of what they have gone through.
Okay, that's understandable. I see more have joined now. Smiler joined too. Uh, Ui, I'm not sure if you're ready already, but just whenever you are, just jump in.
Hello, hello.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
we're still alive. I was just looking up information in regards to manufactured diseases, and I was trying to find it. 1 second.
Well, the officials actually said that the virus came from another, the kind of like, is it called bushmeat? Yes, bush, kind of the illegal, wait, not say illegal, but the bushmeat trade, which basically that people hide under uh a seafood market. If it's probably
Okay.
that bring it's possible that it's a wild virus that gets to transmit into people, but otherwise, yeah, it it I'm not sure if it can be possible if actually a manufactured disease, because I actually had in there's actually one time I had a bit, I can't remember where I read the topic, but there was actually a virus, sort of a biological that kind of virus lab inside Wuhan.
Interesting. Do you know more on that, or?
I'm not quite sure. I think I have to find back the source because it was um yeah.
Okay, I see Uri posting something interesting about SARS in Hong Kong in 2003. Maybe you want to mention it on air. Like, it's probably
Welcome all and a long time not heard my voice.
We
Hear
can
me?
barely hear you.
I
You're a
increase volume
little
then.
low.
Uh-uh. Oh, I know I'm talking, but it is working right.
I can hear you. It's a little low in volume, but it is.
Oh,
I can hear you.
I turned up a little bit my voice because it's a 9 o'clock in my places, so I don't want to make too much loud. But in serious, I heard more about to talk about the virus in China, about the fears right now. But um, see, I think the different things in the past of the Hong Kong called SARS, and this time I'm not sure what name we call it. But the different thing is seriously in 2003 we can to note about something story to talk about China. This is the biological weapon until the 2000 development, but last it's leaking to the Hong Kong and make the world know the make to be a theater. But serious in that year 2003, and China wants to recover the problem is from Hong Kong. It's not China that will push all the responsibility with China to doing the dangerous or illegal war weapons with the biological.
What was the intention for that virus? Like, why did they develop that virus to begin with?
Mm, and no, we never know how about a government to to explain or develop the virus to doing for what. Like they almost need to preparing to maybe the different war, or maybe do it in the to do the test on the type of people. We don't know what they want to do, but just even time and the fears, or maybe the other virus of the leakings to outside, it will be a very how to say that is a social problem with like this now, and everybody afraid you will be sick, you will be die, and no. But now this time, the difference of this time 2009 in China, we also did not care the source of the virus. Where is the virus coming up? All the people was focused on how about the China to cover the news, or should the patient take the take a good treatment or something. But I would think, because I'm serious in now this time, and I say don't have too much information from China. What about the virus to going to where places? How many people feel sick, or how many people die? We don't trust the news in China any time.
Right. On that note, I just found information from China Daily, which says in 2004 there was an incident of an outbreak which resulted in 5 top officials of the Chinese Center for Disease Control punished for the outbreak of SARS. The investigation found that the release of the virus was due to negligence of 2 CDC employees who were infected by SARS, and it was not deliberate, but they said that basically they were infected with SARS and they left the laboratory. And this was in 2004. So that's what I was talking about earlier. It was actually SARS, interestingly enough.
2000 2004.
Yeah, I just posted the article in chat there. If you want to take a look at it, and
The non, I mean, I know what you guys, but the non organized of the hospital released the version is um, a Chinese worker to come to Hong Kong for assembly meetings and go to places 头大花園. That's a home place or the building with much people living in there and
An apartment.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
A very high-rise apartment.
So
right,
and they and this is the virus token. This Chinese worker is already take the virus in his he feels sick, but he still come to Hong Kong. And in Hong Kong, this is the problem of the building design. If the if the virus in I hope that I can speak in Chinese and they help me for translate it. 即係佢哋咪話係爆咗喺嗰個井型嘅通風位置，跟住啲菌先至衝晒上去，先成等開始喺淘大花園出事嘅啫嘛，就未必淨係講嗰兩個 case 咯。
Mhm. So the case started with only in one apartment. However, because of the bad drainage and the ventilation, then it spread to the entire building. And because there are a lot of people who lives in that building, then it spread also in their workplace and daily life to a lot more people, like exponentially.
That's right. The last time they talk about it, the people not keep clean on their hands or washing something, they don't care about this, or maybe they push their toilet is not is in the cover or something, just like make the virus flow in the air. But same,
right,
is the difference is how to say we don't think about we we go to toilet need to read the handbooks and need how to do it in toilet. We never do it. But seriously, and I hope that Asians people would never care about this. They just think toilet just is a dirty place, fluid up, and they don't think about the virus or something like this.
right.
Will be through to the other and make the big problem around the city.
Yeah, so basically the last time was the problem in the lack of knowledge and hygiene of the people itself, but this time it seemed to be different.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's
because we
true.
are way
Okay.
more cautious about that right now.
Now the other main problem with viruses now is that scientists are now working on viruses in laboratories, and as I stated earlier, it's spread. And that's not the only case. I have like several cases here that I've personally documented, not all in China, but all over the world. There's several cases um, where a virus was created in a laboratory and it got loose, and then it ended up causing problems. And this one, I think, is probably one of the worst. Um, there was a university in Wisconsin in 2014 that created a life-threatening virus that closely resembled the 1918 Spanish flu, and yeah, I have no words for that. They created this virus.
This make too much no words right now in this time because everything news was the covered it and no, for example, and we same talk past with the SARS in Hong Kong, the doctor or the worker at the hospital, they can easily detect the virus sample to open source to the world doctor to know how to make the to develop the medicines. But You can think about it in right now. China, they don't open source anything. We don't have everything like the virus sample or the the sneezing methods from the patient. They don't have anything to do to development. How did they prove or how did they solve this problem? That's the main point.
And well, speaking of labs, I found the news. It's on. It's from the source from the actually proudly by the Chinese government, proudly saying China's first E4 laboratory opens in Wuhan at 2015.
Wait, what? Say that again.
Um, the official government has given out a source proudly proudly saying that China's first P4 laboratory opens in Wuhan at 2015.
Oh wow.
And
We
fun
got
thing,
a lab over there.
and they say Chinese government say that they are hard working to do it, and they have some maybe 3 weeks later they will release the news. Oh, they have done the medicine and take everybody to take it, but have anything anything to trust them to take the periods? I don't think so. Just only then know it's like a North Korean. They say whatever, that's whatever. We don't trust it anything. But seriously, it's not open source with anything cases. The condition of the patient or just serious is in China right now. They only let the government doctor to take at the hospital, and no media report, no photographings, no anything message you can leak without that city. So how do we think about it? This is just the mostly thing is we care about the people who are taking the virus and move to the other city, and since the other city didn't know he already in sick, and the people will get dangerous.
Yeah, it is just a strange behavior from a government. Like, even if you are like advanced with technology and all these things, there are doctors in other regions in the world who maybe they've studied these type of diseases like all their lives. They maybe have an answer much quicker, so they should make it open source. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, there's some like there are also some professors maybe like in Switzerland or whatever. They know much more about all these things. Like I don't get it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but the fact that they are saying that there are only like around 50 cases in Wuhan. However, there are already like 40 something in Hong Kong. I don't believe that the
Well,
number
I
in
think now it's 60 cases. I think over 60.
Oh yeah, so there's no way that the number in Wuhan will be true. Like that.
Yeah, those
And
numbers are probably distorted.
it's only from Wuhan to Hong Kong. How about places near? Because Wuhan is within the Wuhan is in the Hubei province. It's quite let's say, and in the middle, it's in the middle between Wuhan and Hong Kong. There's actually Guangzhou or Canton. So we don't know how the virus spread over there. Why the virus would actually like parachute down in Hong Kong? Isn't the virus being spread over in China? We don't know because they're not saying anything about it.
Yeah, it seems like it's definitely a cover up for sure.
Well, if it goes
Because
from
they're only,
if
okay,
it,
because they're only releasing the numbers in Wuhan and not other provinces. So
okay.
even the Wuhan number is already very fake. The others could just be like also a lot, but they're not saying anything as if only it's in Wuhan and not spread it into other cities.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's a really big point to like drive in. These
Well,
numbers are probably very fabricated. Go.
well, if it goes from 40 to 60, that's what I wanted to say. That is already a 50% increase, right? That is like you add the 50% of the 40 above it. It's the 50% increase. How fast is it going? Because if it goes another 50%, then you're talking 90 in maybe in a day. Then you're talking 135 and the day after that. Like you're this would be is a very fast increase still, 50%.
Yes, and that is only the number in Hong Kong. So in a few days, it um, increased in folds.
Yeah, it's not like one or two increase. It's like 50% up, 40 to 60. Like this is a lot. It should shock any government, of course.
Oh
But
well,
not.
but sorry, note that it's well, because note that now it's also the flu season. So actually, there are few for the 60 is suspect. Sorry, the 60 is actually suspected cases. But anyway, we can't be sure because well, we can't be sure about that. The situa We can't be sure about the situation in China. If there's one thing we can ensure.
Yeah, and the problem is that our government is not actually freaking out. They are so calm, like unexpectedly calm.
Yeah, it's just the typical behavior again of governments, like authoritarian governments. Like this is like
Oh wait, by the way, did I mention about the case that the Hong Kong Post Service actually stopped delivering parcels to and from Wuhan at starting at the end of November.
Oh shit.
Do we wait? Yeah, I think there was this thing that the Hong Kong netizens find out that they actually stopped delivering delivering pass delivering posts between Wuhan and Hong Kong at starting at the end of November. So something fishy is going on.
So they probably already knew at that time, but they're not telling anyone.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's a big find.
Yeah, and
That means that this has been going on since November. Oh my god. That means the numbers are way off.
and even though they stopped it, the postal service in Hong Kong and Wuhan, between them, now they are not even closing the border. So there will be direct trains from Wuhan to Hong Kong every day, I think. Still.
oh my god. Yeah, and the government is obsessed with keeping control and so they will never admit that actually like a virus is in control, for example. They won't have like this illusion that the government is always in control of the situation. It's like the typical behavior of authoritarian governments. So, yeah.
But to be honest, if we look at the situation right now, the the Hong Kong government seems to be very chill towards the situation. The while the like there's one I heard there's one case went to Macau and the officials are already starting to put up a lot of their those thermometers at the border already. Singapore like there's one suspected case went to Singapore and the airport is also starting to give checks at the immigration, and yet it's the Hong Kong government seems to be well, what do you say, very calm. Yes. And from that perspective, I was wondering why they are why they are so calm. Is there any incentive behind spreading the virus? Is it, or maybe there's one possibility that I think that would they actually want to use the virus to terrorize to to cool down the movement inside the movement inside Hong Kong.
Not likely. I don't think. I don't. I mean, the virus is not very controllable. So if this virus spreads to say like Hong Kong, Shanghai, I mean, it ruins their economical advantage. Oh, I mean, Hong Kong is and Shanghai is very important to China's economy. So if there's a virus there and there's less workforce over there to to keep up the Hong Kong economy, then it would be very bad for them.
But no, that could exactly be the reason why they want to do that, because they are now trying to establish another area um, instead of Hong Kong for this reason. So, like recently, they're talking about using Macau instead for the international trade and so on. So, if they could just like destroy Hong Kong with this virus, that could be a very nice intention.
I have a feeling that, well, you can, because I think they had a mindset that you can actually replace the people in Hong Kong inside within, you can replace the Hong Kong population and just replace the population with the people from China.
Yeah, they
Your
are doing.
infrastructure will still be there. Your infrastructure will still be there, and your and your and the laws are, well, the and the laws, the infrastructure for trade, it's still there. So they so you can just like, the trade will still go on, even though like the people, yeah, even
Yeah,
though the people is not there.
it is. It is possible, like, but like, yeah, like Ui says, it is. There is a lot of collateral damage, possible collateral damage. It's a risk to take for any government to do, but yeah, like I would personally, I wouldn't be surprised if they did something like that. Like, uh, yeah, it is like there's a lot of collateral damage. On the other hand, it is cheap to do. It doesn't cost a lot of money to start it, right? It is a fast solution. But the collateral damage is high. I mean, you don't know what the result is.
But even in 2003, they started off in a pretty bad position after SARS. But then they give a lot of kind of benefits to Hong Kong in order to also gain their trust and so on. And say like we helped building you up after SARS, so they
Oh
could
yeah.
totally do the, because now the Hong Kong people in Hong Kong don't have that sense of belonging, and that is one very good way to build that up.
No, that is a good point. Like if you would like, maybe it's like a bit conspiracy talk, but maybe like if you would think that the government already has like a quick cure to it, and that they have like manpower, and that they like just introduce this disease, and then they come in and they solve all the issues, and then everyone is so happy that they actually helped, and yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a conspiracy theory, but at the same time, I mean, it's possible because we can create these diseases. As I listed earlier in the show, there's other countries that have created viruses in laboratories that are way, way beyond what we should allow, even being created. Like, there's scientists that are merging viruses together, all types of stuff. So it's possible that a government could do that, and that's the scary thing.
Or just now I'm thinking the virus itself could be just not very deadly, but because of the previous experience with SARS, they can just try to cover information which there isn't much already, and try to just scare people. So the virus is not scary. What's scary is like how they portrayed the virus to be. That could also work. Just like using that one leak into scaring people as a result.
Yeah, fear always works for governments, right? For to restrict rights of people, to have them ask for more government influence, for more government control, all these things. That people will look up to like the powerful people and think like those people will help us, those people can help us. And this is a very tactic that they use. All governments use this in the past, fear tactics, and that is very possible.
Well, speaking of tactics, because I I'm not quite sure if because in within you know within China their news sources are quite limited. They all, like most of them come from the come had sort of a relation with the Chinese communist government. And even though you build the media up yourself, the Chinese government will find you. So um there was one thing that the propaganda about how nice is China, the communist rule is very nice out there. It actually is not actually it's not called actually I don't think it's even communist. It's actually more of a authoritarian uh cron- like crony capitalism rule. But anyway, there are actually cases of the mainland Chinese came to Hong Kong and say we came to Hong Kong and telling people that we save you from the SARS. Is It's actually China helped Hong Kong to recover from SARS. They actually believe in that in in the propaganda that they spread within China. So yeah, if even though the audience it's not even they want even the people who they want even the citizens that they want to support is not Hong Kongers. They actually want to they might actually want to gain support from the mainland Chinese, saying that they actually save Hong Kong from such a crisis to reinforce their rule.
Speaking of which, like about covering news, I think there's a protest in somewhere in Guangzhou a while ago, and then there was no news of it.
Well, I mean, there's a quite there's quite a number of protests. Do you mean the one with the is it the incineration?
Yes,
Is
yes,
it called?
yes. There was one
Uh,
in about the incineration. We heard that the government bowed down quickly. The local government bowed down quickly, but they plan to build an incinerating facility like in another place nearby, and then there another protest started over there. But then there was no news of it anymore.
Interesting. Okay. So, approximately how many protests are ongoing right now?
We don't know.
yeah. To be honest, the information
China
is
doesn't
quite.
want us. China doesn't want us to know.
Yeah, probably it's
Very
more.
interesting.
I mean that it because the whole incineration facility sound like not in my backdoor sim not like that kind of like the common not in my backyard syndrome, that kind of stuff. But in the end, if you deal with the regulations properly, and the people trust trust you can deal with the facility properly, why they would even want to oppose you? I think that's the point.
Yeah, like there are a lot of incinerators in Singapore, isn't it?
Uh, there is an incinerator in one of the islands at the other end of Singapore. So it and they actually put out a law. They put out a law, quite some regulations to deal with the rubbish. So people are either not aware, or they say they will think that, oh, the government has done okay, they have done good, they will do it properly. So that was the point. So they actually have not much crowds to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the difference in Singapore and in China, because like in China, no one trusts the government. That's why they're protesting about these and that.
Well, I won't say that in Singapore that the people don't trust the government. the people trust the government totally. It's more of like, well, they know um some of the things they would trust them. Some of the things like political, like in terms of political things, they are sort of quite they had a lot of self censorship going on to themselves, so they would talk things privately but not openly. Uh, and well, okay, so yep. Speaking about governments, we have the Taiwan elections coming up at yesterday.
They're done.
Yes,
They're done.
they're done, and
And not coming more in the few weeks because in 2020 the big thing is just only this vote and no more. I hope that maybe 1 week later the people in Taiwan will return their jobs, their works, or they don't to care about the politician problem same. They will be back. And they won't take any support to the other places because they think if they are kept in the safety, they don't want to make wars. The people not ready to the battlefield. Seriously. Oh. Um, how to say it is what do you think the people in to be funny in to look like in Taiwan president vote after that in case most of the people to looking around the Chai Ing-wen and and Han Guoyu. These two people are in the KTM and their politician party behind there or something. Um, I don't care Mrs. Choi was lost in the vote before, but finally, I think the dangerous thing is their lawful council vote because in the same date of yesterday. But finally, this is the good result of their coming up the council of their local council in Taiwan, they make the percentage is quite better. Maybe we would, and would make the maybe in Hong Kong, the people with emergency out Taiwan's can make the good lawful pushing or running up to help the Hong Kong people. But I can say it won't. It won't. They just do it themselves. I don't. I'm not in this time. I'm saying not really clear about because I just wake up in this time. This my morning, and I'm not really to look around the news. But all the media will post is congratulations, Mrs. Choi. You are the 18th generated of Taiwan president. Something. Um, I saying to look back to Hong Kong. They're very Hong Kong people are very to emergency that then somebody would help them, and I would think about the the story of some Hong Kong Liberal Party to occupy their vote. They put the banner with say 光復香港時代革命 at their at Taiwan released it released the vote assembly at Taiwan yesterday. And this picture would occupy all the Hong Kong Telegram channel around right now. But I would say Taiwan people does not really care about. They would just say we're looking on it. We're focused on Hong Kong protests or China problem, but because they can't do anything. Same anyone when I say go to Japan to talk to each other, and talk to Japanese, maybe asking them what do you think about the Hong Kong protest. They also is the same answer. They would tell you we know it, we can see it, we can heard it, but we can't do anything. Why? The the problem is and actually is you're asking normal people they shouldn't they can't do anything. But what would they feeling or they think about to the China? This is the problem. Maybe we should think about in the next. It's not only the how could the people to change the government. Is what about the other people to rebuild or anti-China in this topic? What would you think about? And we almost say that see, and keep the answer is the world bigger target is Russia, and the second is American, and the third is China. Seriously, and if Taiwan people to think about their democracy in the next few 4 years, they just to know, and in the class of the citizens, they would think they give this problem to the government. That means push to the Mrs. Choi Ying-wen to do it, to think about it. The people didn't care. They just want to keep their job, keep their work, keep their life, or we don't know. And I would think about the Taiwan citizen is not preparing already to anything protest, war, maybe dangerous more than a battlefield. They can't think it. And when I take to Japan, I visit 退役軍人，即係咩啊？They're not in the
Retired. Retired
Me?
army. Yeah.
即佢
Retired
退
army
役
man.
兵役啫，佢退役兵役後生仔嚟嘅。This is the same a young person, but he
Oh.
left the army force.
Ex-military.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Conscription. Is something like that.
Just he would talk about it. He would talk about it. They are his force is the ground army. Just means 陸軍啊，即係 the land force, the force of land. Yeah, and he would talk about to us is if China or anything war come to Taiwan, they take to the land. They go over to Taiwan lands, and Taiwan will lose. Must be lose. The force, the land force in Taiwan would be the most people in their force, but it's the most weakly. Seriously, they won't think about if maybe in case China armies go to Taiwan and can get to the Taiwan on land, and Taiwan will be they would say they flew the pass. They don't want to fight because the people don't want to die. That means
Yeah,
what
true.
the
Actually,
difference
like
is.
the mainland China can just go and take Taiwan by force anytime if they want to.
It's not only this. It's the funny thing is like this. In Taiwan, the best of their army is their air force and the ocean and the terminal of their seas 海軍。
Their air force, their navy,
Yeah.
their
But-
navy, but their army, it's quite their land troops are considered quite weak. So if they ever the mainland troops ever the mainland China the troops ever get to land, they're not gonna they're not going to get to defend it. So
The funny
so you
thing
mean this?
would talk
Yeah.
about if serious, the army comes to the Taiwan's land, they will climb up to the mountain and hidden. Don't fight. This is the Taiwan force to talk about to me. If they're serious, they know that they cannot war. So how do you think the Taiwan people would ready to fight for anything or any location is impossible. So I would think I would change my plan to support in Hong Kong. It means when it's time we need to regroup or gathering something economies party to begin in Taiwan and hidden the name, and we don't say we're not the politician party, we just for business. And I hope that if can hold down some Hong Kong people to stay in here, and we can gathering regroup the movement, because I serious, I don't get any hope in Hong Kong right now. Same. And and yes, I maybe look back about the Hong Kong protest right now. I heard too much of protester with the front line. Uh, they have something dismissed or something declare their party. They think they can't fight anymore because maybe they're under arrest, they're under charge, or something. Somebody, and we know that already in jail right now. Um, what would they think? Smarter?
What do you mean by what would they think?
Just I want to 即係其實香港而家嗰個狀態係啲人到底仲有冇心機衝，定係真係掛住晒嗰啲黃色經濟圈之後就收了皮咧？
唉，我覺得係捉鬼潮關係咯。
而家已經唔係去打，係咯。
And maybe that's right to share something about, and maybe Mark can help us to talk about this the cat rat the problem of the cat rat in everything protest. We know it in franchise or Occupy Wall Street, that movement. Same have this question about this, but how to resolve it about the people to to take the rat out.
Well, yeah. Well, see, I mean, as we have talked about in previous shows, that the police are using undercover popos to do activities that would cause the police to start to suppress our protests or something. But now people are, I mean, but now we know that but one failed attempt showed us that the police can just make up any excuse to start invading, to start to suppress the protest. They don't need the reason. They try to make a reason, but they can just do it without a reason. They don't care.
Yeah, that's a problem that's been going on for protests since at least the anti-war protest of Vietnam. Probably beyond that, but like that's the most documented with that. It was like Agent 800 or something like that back in Vietnam during the Vietnam protest. But yeah, that's a problem that has always been very fluid within protests, where police are undercover, and in most cases they're provocateurs and they cause violence to then disrupt the protest, which is sad, but that's usually what takes place.
Yeah.
The problem goes further in Hong Kong right now, because we all know that they would infiltrate. So people now, even though
if it was people who are more brave who catch these undercovers, they would beat them up or something, right? Making them exposing them and forcing them to either retreat or they would retreat or something.
Yeah,
but
they are.
The problem is the peaceful protesters are trying to catch these undercovers, but they don't do anything, and they don't know how to find out the rats. So they just target people who look suspicious to them.
Yes. So we have two main problems. One is that there are rats, but we can't find them, and the second one is that we assume there are rats, but they are not. So we're just discouraging people from doing like some
I
things
think
that
it's been
others would
manipulated. People
done, like
think that when someone is breaking a bank that is breaking into a bank that is related to the Communist Party. I mean, yeah, like in the middle of the protest, they would say, when you're doing that, you're going to make an excuse for the police to suppress the protest, when in fact they can just suppress it anytime they want. And then they assume that person is an undercover police trying to get the police to come and suppress the protest, and so they make these people take off their masks and show their face in front of the cameras, which is very dangerous for them.
Oh, absolutely. Especially with facial recognition cameras. You know,
Yeah.
that's that's a whole nother can of worms there, where you know you're forced to put your face in front of a facial recognition camera, and all of a sudden, the police and the government now know where you live. You know, can track you within a database and see where you're at during a protest. Yeah, it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
we actually have an example like 1 or 2 weeks ago when there were a group of two men, and then they were wearing their ear aids, and because of the other protester not knowing what that is, they assume that is something that they contact with other police, so they
When in
see them
fact,
and
I
force
mean, I
them.
know some braver protesters wear earpieces to contact each other using radios or something. And some people who doesn't know anything, I mean, they're idiots. Yeah, they're little idiots who who doesn't know what the undercover police looks like, yet they try to catch people.
Yeah, and that
They're
is
just making things
ridiculous
worse.
because it turns out that two-person were like having ear problems, and one of them was actually a teacher. So that is very bad for him. He could be um, like censored, or even like what do you call that? Fired by the school if the school
Right.
have
Yeah.
social orientation.
Right.
The
And using
activity of
the
attempting to catch
go
both
ahead.
is very dangerous for the protesters to go on the front lines and do more than what the peaceful protesters are doing.
Yeah.
From now on, anyone who tries to catch a ghost, from now on, any idiot who tries to catch a ghost with unjustified reasons will be treated as an anti protester or police.
Yeah. So we're always dealing with these infiltrations. Like what I've learned in mostly like in grassroots protests where you don't have like any like leaders or whatever, and that is that you can't really silence these people either. The only thing you can do is you have to speak louder than them. Like you have to learn to speak louder, like as with trusted activists together, and then you have to make sure your voice, your protest goals, always are like above them, right? And if you're doing like a non-violent protest, then you have to make sure that that message is louder than what they are giving. And sometimes it is hard because they are experienced at it. They know what to do to destabilize protests, but it is hard to silence them because they pop up again. There will be another one popping up again, and it will be it will take some time to expose that person again, and it's very difficult. But we're always dealing with agent provocateurs. I mean, at G20 protests in the past, I was there, and then there were people showing
Oh
up.
yeah, that was bad.
Yeah, and there were also like undercover police showing up, and they were suddenly like throw like it was like a peaceful protest. No one was fighting, right? And then so certain
Right.
yeah, undercover police showed up, and they start throwing bricks and stuff against police, and then the police suddenly starts attacking the protesters because they say like these are violent protesters, but and no one was violent. And afterwards, pictures were like posted online, and they all these Asian provocateurs were wearing the same boots, the same police issued boots.
Yeah, I remember that. Yep. And that's the thing. Like, it's things like that where you can identify them, because in the same respect where they want to be identified to each other, right? You can also identify them based off of their clothing that they use.
Yes, it actually the police looks have a certain look that distinguishes them from the protesters. I mean, not just their markers their signals that can let other police know that they are undercover, but also that their looks. Some of the police have the people who sign up for police in Hong Kong mostly have some looks that makes them a bit suspicious, and the way they look at people. I mean, there is a way to distinguish police
Oh,
from
absolutely.
protesters, but the peaceful protesters doesn't know that, so they just
And maybe I would have I maybe locally to think about in Chinese. I have a tricky games to play with the red of the police. What we say, 几个人
One of us.
because serious in normally all the rats from the police and after their jobs and they back to the line to the police and they would say the Chinese word called 几个人. That's also we can try to fix them. Is 几个人 and the police if they're sharply to know police or what and you can know that that's right already a call.
Yeah, and it's actually very funny that last time, like, around a week or two back then, and then there was one police who was undercover, and then he dressed as if he's another protester, and then he got beat up and pepper sprayed by the police looking like police, and then he was like shouting, "I'm one of us! I'm one of us!" But then they didn't
I
stop
saw that video.
spraying him. Yeah, until he took his police ID out.
Yeah.
His car.
Yeah,
I mean,
which
that,
they usually don't show.
Yeah.
So
So
same and I'm not think the others introduced how to play the police in Hong Kong, but in fact most in to think about is why the people keep taking out the rats and the front force will think they can act to the police or keep doing SAV job something. Maybe where is the people gone? The problem is this: where is the people gone? They don't fight, and where did they gone? They back to home or stay at school or whatever. We need we need a plan to regroup these people already, and they should have something communication until they can declare the force of the police teaming like this. In the past, Hong Kong undercover police to get in the protest movement, people they would make something mark behind themselves, maybe the headlight or a red pin up to the hands or something, or maybe they will put something on their backpack and to be a mark, just an item. And now, if I think if the protester cannot take the common signal with the mark to do this, and and the rats will keep coming injected. In case I also heard something police undercover tried to be joined to the 即係佢哋做金主啊，我唔識譯啊呢、個，即係啲差佬開始扮做金主，聯絡啲黃色經濟圈嗰啲友仔，跟住
嗯
中 Q 咗伏。我知有人出咗事啊，已經係。
點樣中伏法啊？你講？
即係佢個差佬就走去扮佢係金主啦，咁就聯絡嗰啲搞行動嗰啲人，跟住就即係咁當然要交數要成嘅就人哋俾埋啲，即係個做嘢個前線就俾咗啲佢哋啲行動啲料，咁樣俾咗佢咯，
嗯。
咁跟住出事咯。
Okay, so here's like police are trying to infiltrate not only when the protest happened, but also before the protest happened. So because now we are trying to have our own yellow economic circle, which is like we would prefer going to shops that have the orientation like the same political preference as we do. But then police are trying to infiltrate by saying like we want to sponsor you on maybe some of the things that you would use in protest, for example like helmets and masks and so on. And then some shops or like protesters would let them know when they should give them the resources, and by that way the police would know where they would be going in next protest and what time, and then they would be there early and like arrest them. Yeah.
So basically, it's just trying to break the trust between people. To be honest, because the whole movement it's actually a leaderless movement. So the police actually used to in like infiltrate the whole movement by actually sowing distrust into the whole thing, because people want to in on one hand people want the movement to go on, but on the other hand the people want to keep like to keep keep their freedom to I mean like they don't want to get arrested. Yeah.
Yeah, solidarity is a very important part in this movement because like whenever people say they need money and they're just doing crowdsourcing, is that the right word?
Yeah.
Then people likely just pay them and not really asking why or like what you are doing with that. They just give them the money because they trust them and would want to support them.
Still, in the fact about the this is the type of the rats, and we can't care, but just only at the front, and just like them talk about this, the people would take down their masks or tell it rats something like this to stop them in the first date of the 2020 at one child is also make it work. But we think about this must be the police because a guide to attack the bank ATM at one child just a places in Hong Kong, and they and they would think this must be a injector roto acting in the protest, but finally, no one would arrested, no one would get charged, and no one to following after this attacking. So how do we define to stop? I know that we have two ways to stop this problem. First, just to stop catching the rats. But if we don't stop catching the rats will keep injecting in the movement. And the second thing is we know how to catch out the rat.
Okay. Yeah, talking about rats. We were discussing about these malware, like like installed by the Chinese, and it's offered to like poor families. They're offering phones, but they are filled with malware.
Yeah, yeah. In the U.S., it's government-funded phones. Very interesting. Very interesting. Chinese malware was found in um, U.S. government-funded phones.
Yeah, like the U.S. government, yeah, they give like phones to like poor families. Because the U.S. government always makes war everywhere, so it's expensive, and there is a lot of poverty in the country. So they give phones, and then suddenly it's filled with malware, Chinese malware, which is weird, I guess.
I'm wondering how long that's actually been going on for, though. Like I said before on the show, like years ago during Occupy, many of us found that we had Chinese certificates on our phones, and we were like, "Where the fuck did these come from? Why are these on there?" And it's like Chinese government certificates, not like just Chinese certificates. Where it would make sense because the Chinese manufacture most of the phones. Various different brands, right? But yeah, these were Chinese government certificates that we found on our phones. Many of us did. Very interesting. I would like to know how long this has actually been going on.
Well, it would be surprising to hear that, to be honest. Speaking of Chinese, they have, as you know, they have a very strong base. They over the years they developed sort of a very strong industry on making electrics. So they can by that they can when you I'm not an expert on economics, but I know that sometimes company would like they would like to outsource the and buy and like to make their component to make electronic components from other that made in factories in other countries so they can cut the cost. So in so using by using the by so they with China they win they win they win they win the contract back by by the low cost of it. Then they can do they can actually inject the malware or inject the even put a chip put inject some to install some hardware on it to actually and then they will send it to their and then they can actually send it to the to the components to the other country so they can do surveillance or data maybe like data collecting do whatever they want.
To be fair, I think when media reports about these things, they don't really understand how it actually can work. They think you have to install like a separate small malware thing, right? But it is actually, let's say you have an antivirus, or let's say you have like an operating system. It is possible for these companies to do remote updates, right? You have security flaws, and companies can do remote updates, and that means they already have access to your system.
But I mean, this problem maybe how to make the payload to your target.
Yeah, yeah, but
This
let's see.
just also, this is also the problem with in the programmers we talk about it. Anything coding program is not very terrible or dangerous. Just like how would the user token. But in case and nowadays this generation we talk about not too much what we say physical program coding. We almost use the API to contracting even the device to the device. That means the IoT generation. And this is the funny things with I'm interested about the topic with this is would Chinese to pick up some hardware, software, or just the communication API inside in the device. it's funny because in this few months, I'm just work around in the Telegram API spoofing and censorship. Seriously, I can easily to take down everything Telegram group channel, their ID, their IP, or their phone numbers. Just it's not think about te- almost we talk about Telegram is very security messenger on your mobile, but when I got to play it, it's not.
Yeah, recently one of the admin groups in Telegram in Hong Kong was arrested and also charged with not really reasonable what do you call that? Reason of
Not trustable using
煽动
computer.
嗰個 Yeah.
Say that again.
Not
Okay,
trustable
so
using computer.
that
Oh my god.
of the Telegram group was charged with using computer in a dishonest way. They always use that to charge when they have no other good reason to. And then they also do not charge them immediately, but confine them or in detention for quite some time before the trial happens. So they are kind of already jailed before being trialed.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So
Like they
I'm
couldn't
Taiwan.
find
I
any
moved to
other
Taiwan. Yeah.
evidence.
Yeah.
So basically, guilty before innocent is what you're saying. That's crazy.
Yes, that is. Like before, we only hear about that in the case of China, but now it's also happening in Hong Kong right now.
Well, to be fair, in the USA, it's also kind of like that with the whole Patriot Act thing. If they have suspicions you are doing something, they can do a lot of things. They have like the right to kick in your doors and all these things, and then uh, there is a big risk that they will always find something they can use. It is like not direct evidence, right? But always like circumstantial evidence. Like if you have something laying around in your house, like you use like artificial fertilizer, right? Then they can say like, okay, he has all the stuff to make a bomb. He's probably making a bomb, right? That is what they can do.
Yeah, but the thing is, they are locking that person up for 1 year before the trial. So like one entire year is almost like jail time.
Oh my god.
And well, I see the news of the last post. You say that U.S. government issue phones running Chinese malware. Um, let's say the number means the Android-based phones with UMX blah 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 number. But this is serious. Is the old the the older OS from Android 3.2 before. Just this is just the MSF console payload also. When I see it, I know what is it, but it means you cannot protect anymore. Just the attacker to send you a message behind as you didn't know it. Um, in case, just they can take off your browser and can do the hijack anything.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, like when you're talking about like the MSF payload, you're talking about the Metasploit that is already embedded in that software, and it is so widespread that it is not limited to like Chinese government. Like any hacker who like installs Metasploit.
But
Yeah.
the problem is you need, I mean the target should be use this phone already. So if you maybe you're the iPhone, you don't need to care about it. Seriously. I hope that these chips would be included in Xiaomi and some kind of Huawei older device.
Xiaomi, Huawei,
Yeah,
Huawei,
and
yeah,
ZTE,
Oppo,
Zhongheng.
a lot of them.
No, no, no. Just only this device. Developer will release their phone with using this older chipset because maybe this is not normally Android phones with our using like this open source. This is the hard software already built in their motherboard. Just 我唔記得咗個 version，but same is it's just the old one. It's not really the new one. But should this virus or attacking method will have the new generation upgrade? I didn't know. I need to check around this.
Okay, so another note on how updates are important.
Yeah, and if you have an updated phone and everything, then encryption matters too. I mean, because if you talk about the Chinese government, they also built all the antennas for the entire phone systems, like the 4G, the 5G. They have built everything, and like I said, they they can do like remote updates and all these things. And technically, it would be possible to collect the traffic we all do on our phones. But if you have like encrypted end-to-end encryption, you have some protection against that. But yeah.
Yeah, but I would argue that if there's Chinese malware on your phone and you're using encryption, I think it's useless.
Yeah.
I think the encryption would be useless. Because the Chinese malware would be like basically a back door into your phone, at any time. Like if you can't disable that shit without root, for Android, right? Without rooting your phone, if you can't disable the Chinese malware, I would say encrypting your phone is useless.
And how many of the family and how many of these people know how the things about roots, that rooting your phone?
No, people don't know that.
It's about in maybe this generation, not too much people think the Android needs to root anymore because much APK or the scripting can run in Android very freedom, not like an iPhone. And
Yeah, that's true.
also iPhone would make the change. They open the rights to put the IPA in the phone, and they still can run it. Not too much like the older. We need to use the iTunes fucking software, right? Um, but now maybe we must mostly in China seriously to focusly to attacking the mobile device is iPhone. Not serious to modify it in Android anymore. Android maybe would be like to attack the Asians target, maybe like a Japan, Korean, or South Asia, some kind of country. Their message the people would keep using an Android. Um, if serious to talk about this, just one recommended. If you know your phone got this chipset or got this model with UMXU6X6CL, and you can change your phone. That is the faster way to protect your phones with these attack because I just see this new and no more information about the attacking type would being focused on that. Maybe it's just the malwares to encrypt your phone or something, but this is the jobs like I want to do to turn back to China because mostly the thing is they can attack the target, but why we can't attack them back using the same objects? And just serious, I just only get this news around the Android phone. Say what was it called for? I don't think these attacking method will be much popular to spread to the world each other. Maybe yesterday or 2 days ago, the Firefox Spec Zero Day is more dangerous problem around the world.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely what WikiLeaks highlighted with Vault 7 was these backdoors that the CIA had implanted into phones, and the fact that they knowingly know that these exploits exist, right? And they're not telling the phone manufacturers to fix them, right? That's a problem because anybody can exploit it. Then anybody who knows a little bit of basic knowledge about computers, and that really opens everybody up to privacy invasion, and it could be serious. Like, and this is another example, but recently Ring cameras were hacked,
Yeah.
which I think is I think Ring is absolutely one of the dumbest things ever. But if you do get a Ring camera, that's what you risk. You risk having your Ring camera hacked and then being extorted for money by hackers, and that could happen with phones because if there's a known exploit open on a phone and the intelligence agencies aren't telling the phone manufacturers, right? Then anybody can exploit it.
Sure, sure. When they open source the connection with that, and it's dangerous, and because I know like the case you're talking about, I have the other method to do this attacking. First is your target is a normally computer is the first.
Wait, slow down. We don't want to give hacking advice on a live stream. We'll get suspended. Please don't do that.
No,
So
no, no, no,
Tyler,
no.
Tyler gave advice before on how to build a bomb. Like, we don't need that.
No, I mean the terms is how to do that. It means anything browser can sweep your page to your phone's dysfunction. This is the
Right.
dangerous in even Firefox, Chrome, Safari, whatever. Because I can send a script to your browser, to your computer browser,
Yeah.
and autoly to sweep to your phone, and you can you can rip your phone anytime. Let's just input the payload in the web behind and let them download it. Just just that easy.
Yeah, that's true.
This is the same way like you talked about last is how to be getting in your camera or your connection because the I think the problem is from the part of the user agents method with the browser. When I see that news of the 0 days of Firefox, that I know I lose my job because what I'm doing things and the other have done and released the problem. I cannot work on it anymore. Shit.
Yeah, no, it's true.
But this is maybe is easily to get back the other message from. In case on me, I would think I would try to use this attacking skill and way to take the police message. But now they release it and I cannot do it.
Yeah.
So
Well, we know they have. They did this in like in previous things. They did this to attack like Tor users, for example, right? I mean, if we talk about that, like the Firefox 0 day to demask Tor users. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. Just with you send the message, talk about the malwares on phone. We will think the 2 days before the Firefox release is much dangerous because Firefox can within different devices like your mobile, like your computer, or maybe something non-computing devices like 廣告版即係
Advertisement.
yeah. Something on this, they're running on the display with the network is normally using same maybe the device running on Unix or Windows, they will easily to already build in the Firefox web, what is the web build user agents or web build framework already built in. That is the dangerous things to you can carry each other. Maybe force in the camera. Maybe in case I spoof a device, they have a camera in the street and they're already built in a Firefox framework in here, and I can take the camera anytime.
Right.
That means maybe we're not sure what we take after the data when we get, but it's like very huge data process to think about what can we get and what will we do after we getting this data. Maybe the data is not very useful. Maybe just looking at on the street, or maybe just a text file, or uh, just a column of the message. It's not the fully document. But what we what will we think about? And it's very focused lead for the hackers want to do something to their victims, and what can they get? This is the problem. So just the security box or the backdoor, we just can say release and hope the listener will take care about this. It's not very to want to make you afraid that, oh, don't use Firefox, something like that.
No, because other browsers have similar issues, but at least the Mozilla group is always as transparent as possible. I mean, they also do like lawsuits against even like FBI and all these things, and they do try to defend, but uh, there are also compatibility is an issue. Like you have, they especially with this Internet of Things and all these things, they want everything to work smoothly together, and they have all these pre-built-in things to make that work, and it is not always so secure. And but even if you think about like using like a website like Facebook, right? And you just go into like a chat, like a private message chat, and it before you launched your camera or your microphone, it already detected exactly what kind of camera and microphone you had, right? So then this is just legal software.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so terrible. I mean, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, this is already, but this is all legal. This is not even a hack needed. It's already detected.
The story like a Mr. Robot, and he hacked the camera and take the, oh, you got a girl behind your door.
Yeah,
It's terrible.
yeah, it is terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, people need to be aware of this because this like even the combination of like knowing what the screen resolution, the software, and the camera and microphone you use. For some specialists, like using databases, they already know exactly what kind of like a laptop or phone you have, right? They know exactly like which which camera version, which microphone version go together in a laptop, for example, or in a phone.
Yeah, that's true. And then the other thing is that, like in Facebook's case, right? They got caught, even though they denied it, right? They got caught recording people's conversations and basically feeding them advertisements based off of their conversations.
Yeah, but let's say you combine this with like credit card information you have. If you are an agency, right,
Yeah.
a government agency, then you know exactly like what type of laptop someone bought, right? And they can detect
Right,
from
yeah,
the system from
right.
this is him. So we already have it confirmed. We don't need an IP address, nothing. We already know it's him because he's using exactly this camera, this microphone, and this operating system, and all these things. We can detect it. We can detect his screen and his
Right. Yeah.
So we know what laptop he has, and so the pool becomes very small. From like there's like maybe 500 people to choose from in this area, and then yeah, yes,
Yeah. People don't think that deep on that level, like how easy it would be to
Yeah.
basically trace down somebody like that. You don't even need an IP or a MAC address anymore. Like, yeah, it's insane.
yeah. So sites like Facebook use like over 2,000 identifiers. They say so. That's already something, and they can even they claim they can even identify you using like your click behavior, like your mouse movement behavior. They can actually.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I've seen studies on that.
It's so advanced.
Hmm. Right now, can look back to the Asian topic around the Indian. But it's serious. I don't know the Indian protests in here because I'm travel around too much places and not too much time to take about the news. And we say Smiler can present something. The Indians protests.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so actually the protest was started some time ago. I'm not sure, but um, it got more popular last year in around November to December. So it is because the I don't know whether it's called president or not. Modi, he proposed two bills. First, being the CAB, the citizenship, and then the other one called NRC. Just a moment, I'll check what are their full forms. Okay, so the CAA is. Oh, I'm sorry. Gosh.
Oh wait, so right now how many protests? Actually, how many protesters are there in total? Because I heard there's one case in Kashmir, is it? The dispute, a very disputed region where there were fights. There is fights between different groups.
Yeah, but that's been happening for a very long time. It started very early in 2019. Is around like April or something.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, so CAA turns out to be Citizenship Amendment Act. Okay, so for this one, basically said that so if you are not already a citizen in India, they will provide you with a citizenship if you are not Muslim. That's why people are angry about that because like India is a place with people with a lot of different religions, and now they are like boycotting Muslims and not giving them the citizenship that they could get just because of their religion.
Yeah, because I think that there's one thing that Islam, the Islam religion has been somehow rooted over there because they had this empire before the ruling ruling before they come in. Yeah, they had these empires come ruling before the British colonization that it's also Islamic in nature, Islamic empire. So they had actually quite a significant number of Muslims in within the nation, and suddenly one day because they don't have a citizenship, they are not considered because they don't have a citizenship and they are Muslims. They are not considered part of the nation, and I find it was quite terrifying.
When was that you're saying?
Uh, I mean, before yes, before because historically there have been few Islamic empires ruling over the area. So it was, yeah. So there was quite a number of Muslim population over there.
So you're talking about before the British rules.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because after British people left India, they kind of like separated that one big chunk of land into two pieces, like Pakistan and India. So Pakistanis would be the region that the Muslim people would choose to live in, and India would be the rest. So just like all the other religions would mainly be in India instead of Pakistan. Yeah.
It's
But
very
then
interesting. Go ahead.
okay, so this bill actually CAB now it's already an act because it's not a bill anymore. It is for the immigrants. So anyone who wants to migrate to India, they could be coming from Pakistan or just Bangladesh or Afghanistan. Yeah, then they would be under this act affected by that, so they would not be granted citizenship if they are Muslims. What were you trying to say just then?
I was just going to say it's very interesting what you brought up because very recently China and India have been running naval drills around the region. I don't know if you knew that or not, but I thought it was very interesting. And India and Pakistan have had increased tensions for the last past year, and there's many that are saying that a war could break out between India and Pakistan.
Yeah, they both have a claim on the Kashmir region, so to speak.
Right.
So should I continue with the other bill? The other.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I just when you said that, it just jogged my mind to that.
No problem. Yeah, okay, so the other one is called the NRC, the National Register of Citizens. This would be about the people inside India who are already citizens. So here under this one, it's not about religion. So they are saying if you cannot provide any paper that proves that you lived in India before 1971, March 24, which a lot of people right now who are in India were not even born yet, or that your ancestor lived in the region, like in India before 1971, then you would not be considered a citizen anymore.
Oh my
So then
god.
they will switch to the CAB, which is like if you're actually a Muslim living in there, but you cannot prove that you've been there since 1971, then you will be treated as an immigrant. And if you're a Muslim, then you would be like, you would not be entitled to the citizenship. So you would be banished, or I don't know what they would do to you. That's the scary part, like how these
I'm
two
not.
things connect together.
Yeah, if you think about it, like how they treat people, like not as people, but just like what kind of box they fit in or something. They forget that these are all people, and like this
Yeah.
the weird thing. Go ahead, Swan.
Yeah, and if they're you're saying that they are trying to like build up the tension towards having a war with Pakistan, then this makes sense as well. Because
Yeah, they
Pakistan,
are.
yeah, is the country where the Muslim counterpart of India would live in, then they would just like banish people there, and
Yeah.
Pakistanis would be angry because of that, then they can just like start right there.
Yeah, and it's also very interesting to note is that China and both China and India have a strong stance against Muslims.
Yeah.
In China, the Uyghurs were being sent to basically camps where they were told to relearn society. and to basically denounce being a Muslim. And also, there was reports about torture of Uyghurs, and there was reports about surveillance of Uyghurs, and there was a couple reports about supposed concentration camps of Uyghurs as well. So, yeah,
and
I think that's very interesting. Those two.
yeah, I wonder why are they targeting Muslims? First, I was thinking maybe because they, in their culture, they give birth to a lot of children. That's why they take up a lot of resources and they don't want them. But that doesn't make sense. Like to banish people just because of their culture and their religion.
Well, it is if you are an authoritarian government, you could consider it a threat because there are over 1 billion Muslims, right? And that is a very powerful religion in the sense that they are very united on their beliefs and their lifestyle and all these things. And so, as a government, you could be scared. Like, are these people actually like? Yeah, can they influence our society in such a way? Like the oppressive government, they don't feel like all powerful over these people in such a way because they like in Islam, but also in other religions, by the way, that the true loyalty is to God, right? Like their belief. So, because they consider God as above any human-made state laws, so to speak. So. Yeah. So that must be a fair thing. They're scared about these things. I think it happened the same with the Jewish people under the Roman Empire, and in other like powerful empires they oppress these religions because they fear that the God is the highest power, right? Not the state. So yeah.
Yeah, but like there are also a lot of what do you call that? Uh, refugees, yeah. Refugees that are flooding into the EU, and they are also Muslims, but European countries are not afraid of them.
No, not at all. No. And but for China maybe and also for India maybe you can also compare it with like a situation in like Tibet, for example, in the past. And maybe Nepal, like in Tibet, there's a totally different religion, but it's also a religion, and it can be the state sees it as a threat, I guess. Even
Yeah, but
Yeah, that's a really good point.
yeah, but the better way would be like to naturalize them. Just like them into your culture and try to teach what is your culture to them, other than like forcing them.
Yeah, that's not neutralize. No, neutralize would basically mean kill them.
Assimilation? Is it what you want? Yes.
That's okay.
Okay.
I just wanted to point that out for you before what you went further with.
That's quite dangerous. Assimilation, is it?
Yeah.
Is it the right word? Better word.
I think so. And
Yeah.
And you can compare it with empires in the past, like powerful empires in the past. You had like the Roman Empire, for example, was a very powerful empire, right? It was like almost everywhere in the European region. It was parts of Asia, Africa were all Roman. But these people at first they conquered like Greece, and they took the Greece already had their own gods. For example, they had all these Greek gods and Olympus and all these things, and they when the Romans conquered Greece, they adapted these gods as their own because they knew the religion in Greece was so powerful they would never switch to another religion. They would never give up their gods. They were convinced that these gods were real. So the Romans just embedded these gods into their own, And then you had like the rise of Christianity. The Romans did the same with the Christian religion. They switched because Christianity became the most powerful thing in their whole region. They switched to Christianity and they embedded that as their god. And then you see the formation of the Vatican, for example. The Vatican became the heart of Christianity in Rome, and Rome is the main city of the Roman Empire. And then you see the rise of Catholic religion all over the world. And they also, when they started to introduce Catholic religion all over the world, they also embedded local traditions into their own. They made it part of the religion, so to speak, by assimilating them. So like you were saying, that is how they were doing it. They knew they would have to face constant war and rebellion against these people who were convinced that these gods were real. They had lived with these gods for thousands and thousands of years, and so it would be the wisest strategy to accept them and embed them as their own. But yeah.
And there are also like countries like Canada that does a better job. Like they embrace their differences, allowing people like from different countries and different cultures to live together and have a part of their own culture with them, even though they are in a new country, adapting a new kind of lifestyle.
Yeah, of course. Accept it as a part of your culture. It is the wisest thing, I guess, to do. But I don't know. It is you're dealing in China with the government that is also convinced of their own stories. So
Yeah, but I kind of find it just ridiculous how they could do it just like that. So, like, no one's condemning them. You don't see other governments like saying anything about this issue.
Well, because what I know, because some of them we like to say the Islamic world is they held the same they hold the same faith across let's say the around the Middle East region and the north and the northern Africa region. They are all along. They are all the Islamic world countries who have the same faith, but actually they're quite. Actually I heard that they're quite. The governments itself are quite split between each other because they also have their own problems involved within themselves that some of them have to sort of gain power through China. So then so to gain so to be friends, like let's say to gain their benefit from China, they are not going to comment anything on the Uyghur situation. So I think that's one of the reasons why the Uyghur humanitarian crisis have been sort of very quite loud within the international or even the Islamic community.
yeah, I have to say I don't know too much about it, but yeah, you read a lot in the news, but it's also biased when I read it here in the Western news. Never know what is
Huh.
true, but never know what is true. You read a lot about the Uigurian situation. Um, the weird thing is that if you still regard China as a communist country, which I doubt that it's still a communist country, but
I read doubt. It's more of like the crony capitalism. Is it what crony capitalism? I forgot.
I would argue. I would personally argue that China is a full blown dictatorship at this point. Like, it's an Orwellian dictatorship, if anything. I mean, holy shit. All the technology that they've been coming out with regarding surveillance, not only just that, now they're requiring people to take a picture of themselves and their ID to use their phones and the internet. Like, oh my god. Things are crazy over there.
I was thinking about like more about like if you just look at economic policy and we forget about all the other stuff, just economic. I was thinking like, is it actually still a communist system? And that's what I
No.
also doubt now. Yeah,
That's still not.
it used to be like that. I think it was actually the purpose of it. The original story, but you're talking about this is real, really aggressive capitalism even that's now being used. Like there's just like the huge industry and the deals made, the export is huge now. There is even investments, capitalist investments in Africa and all these regions. It's almost like it is a capitalist system, and only the top is like some kind of political party that calls itself the Communist Party, but they are really like the top of
like
the pyramid.
most of a lot of their companies are actually bought. They have more or less they have relations with the government. I mean, like there are a lot of course there are a lot of huge companies belonging to the government, but otherwise if let's say there are three largest tech companies over there, they actually had to obra the government actually had to tell them to go by their what they want, and so they had to do the censorship, like the internet censorship accordingly. So or they will like say they will outlaw your company. That's the power they had over the companies inside inside their nation.
Yeah, it's like like the system is now like capitalist, and it has like an oppressive octopus at the top, having their how do you say it, having like a piece of everything. They have their hands in everything at the top level, so to speak. Like it's like
Yeah, I feel like it's like 99% of the wealth on 1% of people, and the other, like the rest of the 99% of people, would be treated the same because they have nothing, basically.
yeah.
Because
so
if it's truly communist, then there won't be so many people who are like extremely poor.
no, you would not have a small elite either if you believe in true communism. So that's simply not possible. You have these
Yeah,
these
it didn't
old
happen to begin with.
yeah, and have these old communist systems like but they were always abused, right? You have like the Stalinist communism, but there was always like one dictator at the top, and he was like gathering money from it and power. But like in true communism, I guess everyone would be equal, right? Including the leaders. They would make less than the normal people just to make a statement. So
Yeah, the communism in China basically is just a lie to just trick people into having the same identity and building solidarity between them because they think they were equal.
it's sad actually, because in some way the equality thing it would be very good to have for a lot of people. I mean, yeah. Don't want to say that.
I mean, like half. Like I'm not. To be honest, I'm not really against socialism that much. In the end, because how the Chinese government, Chinese communist government acts like that some of the, like, let's say the anti-government people within China actually they had the mindset that it's actually communism is like pure evil, and that I think that's quite sad, to be honest, because the equality, the to be honest, because this equality, I think the concept of equality is good, but actually, well, it's actually I think there's a one bad thing about communism. It goes against human nature, because no, because well, everyone wants to be more, get a bit of more advantage over one another. So yeah.
Yeah, China is only using the name of communism. They are not doing communism.
Yeah, they're only using the name communism to paint rosy pictures of how good the nation is, and yeah, then so actually it was quite so it was quite so actually that actually sort of like make people think that communism is actually like pure evil within the world. So something so it wa- but
Yeah,
there's yeah, yes, you please go on.
because like the real communism would not require like such surveillance, like people watching you, because when you are equal, then you don't get to watch people because you don't have power over them to control their lives. That is so not communist.
So not communist.
Yeah.
It's almost hard
Like
to say
there's
like in 2020.
yeah, they're actually saying like the way Taiwan uh rules their country is very close to like more communist, because everyone get some pretty good welfare, and then no matter what you're working, you won't get too much or too little income, then you have enough for what you need.
Yeah, it also yeah, it depends on how you interpret communism, I guess, because there are like different models have been tried in history, and some better and some very bad. But like there are the good things about the communism is like the workers working together, right? Having like unions together and being able to stand up against factory owners, small powers, and that is actually the strength coming from below. Like the poor people being able to organize together. That is one of the big strengths behind communism. So it actually would empower weak people. It would empower poor people, and it actually has less with government control because the poor people are the strong force in that type of economic system. So that I think that's been forgotten by all these. Uh, then you have the statist form of communism, that everything goes to the state and they divide everything. But you also have other forms of communism, community based. People share among each other, and that the state has very little influence in it, but you just have certain human rights which are guaranteed to everyone. Like that is something you have to combine it with human rights. Those are not, the human rights don't disappear because of a certain economic system, like this capitalism or communism. Like you need healthcare and you need certain freedoms, right? So it's very difficult. But it gets abused. In the past, it was abused by people like Stalin. Uh, you had a form under in former Yugoslavia under Tito was a communist leader, and he had a different form of communism too, which is different than both Soviet Union is a bit different than China too. It was under Tito's communism, the factory workers would work in a factory, but they would all own a share of this factory, and this factory would compete on the capitalist market against capitalist companies. But all the workers would work, and they would all get an equal share of the profit of this company. And it was not really a leader of the company. There was not really an owner. It was owned by all the workers, and the workers would all share equal. For example.
There are still some businesses like that in the U.S. Not a lot, but there are some businesses like that where the workers kind of share the full business income.
But they are like small business, or what is the size of them?
Oh yeah. No, absolutely. It's a small, community-sized owned business, but they do exist. Not on wide scale, but there are some of them around.
Yugoslavia under Tito, this was done on such a large scale that it actually scared the European powers and it scared the American powers too. And to such a level because the Yugoslavia suddenly had like the third largest army in Europe, for example, too. They have built a real defense for themselves to defend their country and all these things. So it had to be destabilized, and then that's when all the chaos happened in Yugoslavia, and now these are like I think 5 countries, but it was one country back then, and they were made into 5 countries, all fighting with each other. You have Bosnia Herzegovina, Albania, Croatia, Serbia, and I think Montenegro is the 5th one. But they are all fighting against each other now, and this was a deficient tactic done on them, and there were mass murder, genocide, everything happened. After Tito died, by the way, it was only happened after their leader died, and there was an old partisan fighter in World War II, where he was actually fighting against Hitler's armies with his partisans. He was very successful in defeating the Nazis from their country. Well, yeah. So that's what they did. They did like this whole sharing thing. They had every worker had an equal share of the thing. So that's also a form of communism. That was his interpretation. And Stalin actually tried to murder him like 62 times. And the Americans tried to murder him over 20 times too.
You can hurt. Oh no! I'm trying the mic. Sorry.
Now it's okay.
You just did it live.
I'm not sure, but then I see that what my lyrics can't hurt my voice.
Actually, you sound way louder.
I need to tune up something, so you can keep going on. It's my problem. Sorry about it.
Okay.
I don't know. With Linux, I just plug it in and it works.
I'm done. I can speak it. It's okay.
We were just talking about communism in China, if it is even real communism, and comparing it with other things in the past.
I know.
So you're saying,
But
yeah, that one person who suggested another form of communism, and Stalin tried to kill him.
Oh yeah.
So like,
Yeah, Tito,
Yeah.
Joseph Tito Broz, he that was the leader of Yugoslavia. He introduced a different form of communism, and having the workers like the thing what Stalin did right was that all the profits factories made, all the thing harvested from the farms, all had to go to the state, right? And the state then would divide it over the people. But in Tito Bra's system, it was just like factories had workers, and they would take their share. They would have the
yeah, like
equal share.
without the layer of the state.
Yeah, without the layer of the state. Yeah.
I mean, he like object that so much. It's pretty obvious that he does something in that layer of the state to take something away.
Yeah. Yeah, so these are different interpretations of communism, how these people saw it. And yeah, I think over 60 times Stalin tried to murder him. I think Americans tried to murder him for like 20 times. And when he finally died, after that everything collapsed. People were very loyal to the Tito regime in Yugoslavia. So then he passed away, I think it was in the 80s, and after that the huge wars started. They all started fighting each other, and it was done by the West because they were very scared of this system becoming bigger.
Yeah, I was just about to say that it was probably the West that destabilized Yugoslavia.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's pretty obvious. You had the Serbian nationalists; they wanted their own state, and they had like all the industry and all the army, all the weapons factories were in that area, and they started to like overrun the other regions. And the Croatians then wanted their own part. I have to say that these were like 5 different groups or something living together, always in peace under Tito. And then when Tito died, he could no longer, yeah, like have them live in peace, and they all wanted their own part of the area. And these different groups were, of course, funded and supported by certain groups in the West, right? That's how they do it. Yeah.
Yeah, by the way, talking about funding from the West, I feel like a lot of protests or just any movement that happens in the East, people just assume they are always funded by the West.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm
What do you
quite
think
not
about
sure this situation in India, because maybe most maybe would think about like American, the Canada, or the half of our Earth is it will be get a little bit funding already before, but do it have seriously have some kind of this donation from the Western?
I don't know because for like the movement right now in Hong Kong and also in India, I've heard a lot of comments saying that they think they are funded.
So that's the problem.
But do you agree with that? Do you think they are always funded?
But in my side, I would think if we take maybe, for example, we take the donation, but who can we pay for that? It's the same problem. Is how in case of Mark or the other country, how if they take the money, they want donation to Hong Kong protester. Who to take this? This is the problem. We need to find out some kind of the party already begin in Indian and to maybe just basically to let us know what they've been doing or what will the money used for.
Yeah.
They're
I,
like
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Maybe serious. The Western country or the overseas country would have the donation already, but we can't check seriously. We can't check each other. Maybe you prove to the international doctor or something to Africa, but you're not sure what the money should it to buy medicine or preparing a treatment to the patient in Africa. You know what I mean? So in case right now is how to find out in our corner. How do we find out the party in Indian or other front line to make a connection with?
Say it again.
I mean, how to find out some party already in them to make them. If you ask about the donation， 唔係，不如我中文先啦。你係講緊即係佢係捐錢去印度啊嘛。咁但係佢都冇一個 exactly 嘅位置，就算你話西方有人籌咗錢，佢都唔知俾邊個。佢哋而家個狀態都係冇大台啊嘛，學鳩香港啊，佢哋都係冇大台噶嘛。咁我捐俾邊個先？呢個係一個問題啊嘛。
Yeah, that's a problem. Like, if you want to support someone, who do you give the money to? But what I'm saying, like, in the Western, they always assume that all the conflicts that happen in the East would be like controlled by some other government. Like, they assume the West, someone from the West would just pay people in the East to just make a mess for them to like interfere with their policies and so on.
Certainly seems that way.
Yeah, you also have opportunists, like they see a protest somewhere and they think maybe we can use this for our advantage, like maybe we can benefit from things. But this is you have to ask the question, does it make your protest less credible? Like if you're in Hong Kong and you're fighting for human rights and someone in the West sends some money to some protester in Hong Kong, because maybe he doesn't like China either, but he doesn't care about human rights. He just doesn't hate. He just doesn't like China. So it means, like, does it make your protest less valid? I don't know. I don't think so. They'll have their own reasons to do things, but still you are there too, right? And you don't have the same reasons as they have. So
the problem is same like this, because the payer, that means the given money party, they would think, should I pay the money to you, and what would you do? And already let us know it. Maybe in Hong Kong is we don't care about to prove what would they doing. They would seriously to tell you they want to make some alcohol or they want to ready the bomb to do whatever. But maybe this is the same condition in Hong Kong right now. They would say they're in Indian they're saying is the no leadership no leadership protesting movement, something like this. But if we talk about the money, so we don't know what is the stand, or maybe where is the places. Maybe in case in Hong Kong, we say we have some kind mainly party of the protester. They call it in Chinese word 星火 and 嗰嚿食錢嗰嚿嘢叫乜鳩啊？令我民陣嗰嚿612啊。They use the date of the, but I'm not fully of the Chinese. 嗰個叫咩？612咩基金啊？
人道基金。
Just 612 humanitarian 基金啫。
Or something like that. The fund.
Yeah, this funding group, something like this. But when we ask of them a question, they give us a bullshit answer. They say that the money we're preparing to the court and the lawful charge and lawful argument, something like this. When I know this news, I'm very angry. The money donation to them is not for doing like this. It's not the people wanted. Same's the problem right now in India. Maybe the outside country to give them donation to India, but the Indian maybe they will have some a little bit stand to take this money or agree this money to ship to Indian. But what would this party doing? Is the problem.
Yeah, what you're basically saying is that like we have the problem of if we want to support some other protests in some other countries, um, we would basically just give them money, but first we don't know who to give to, and second, like what that organization use that money for might not be how the protest can actually be helped. Yeah, not the way how people want, because like if you're giving it to like the 616, 612 or
612.
yeah, 612, yeah. Yeah, and then they would use that only for people who were arrested and would be trialed. However, for the other ones who are just still on the streets, they get nothing. That's why it's like not, perhaps not the best way to donate.
So this is the problem since I got in 2009 June and talk about we don't get any donation fundings or any partner. If we already take the partner, it must be outside. Just use at the outside. Not we can't support Hong Kong anymore. Same condition like maybe I think that same speak Indian, but I know the problem would be 我都係講中文啦，即係啲都係中文應該正，即係印度。
我可以 comment 下先啊。Okay, so just a little short comment. I think in India it's even more complicated because there are a lot of regions that you can't even reach. Like Kashmir, they are actually blocked by the government, so they are under very strict surveillance. You can't slip money in, you can't slip resources in. The internet's blocked, so you can't get anything in or out. So they are the people who are they need help the most, but it's the hardest to reach them. And, you know, there are protests around the country. Yeah, there are protests almost every day nowadays around the country, but you don't know who should you help with. Like if you're only helping one group, then like what about the others? Yeah.
You're cutting off bad. I'm not sure if it's on my end, but Smiler, you have the same.
No, it's really bad. Yeah.
Okay.
Oui?
佢啲咪
The connection problem.
咩事？你啲咪啊？
You're right.
我聽到講嘢啊！哦。
Okay. Okay, sorry, there's a little connection problem, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me? Oh.
Yeah, now it's alright.
Yeah. Okay. 唉，我意思即係話佢而家嗰個去到一個，其實佢係行緊種族法，跟住包裝翻做人權法，咁呢個 terms 其實就佢好 Q 有問題嘅。但係咧， 即係印度嗰個涉入性會唔會即係舉個例，佢就算有籌款啊，都會變咗係啲宗教組織嚟。咁你點知會唔會掉翻兩邊教會錢啫？冇人敢捐㗎喎，真係。
Yeah, so 你係咪想我用英文講翻次定係點？定係你自己講？
你用英文試下轉啦，因為我唔知嗰啲 terms of 宗教問題同埋啲即係佢真係好 complicated 啊嘛。
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what he's saying is that now because it's targeted to Muslims, so the like organizations that would be taking the donations would usually just be like religious organizations who might just take the money and like put in their own activities because they already have been organizing a lot of those. And also it's like you can't really do much with that money to the government or so hard.
Yeah, so I say you just say maybe comment something or whatever the updates in Indian as you know it. We want to know about this.
Yeah.
Like after that, actually, not much's been happening. Like they were just keeping on protesting, and the government's just been suppressing in a lot of different places, especially schools and universities. Also, like that in Hong Kong, they forced into a lot of universities. Yeah, and also a lot of violent acts in there, and also something a little bit more special, you could say. They were trying to also teach the poems and papers that were written by Pakistanis, their next door Muslim country. Yeah, so like they would take some poems or papers written by Pakistanis and they would just publicly what's that word? Criticize about them and say like this part is wrong because of something like that is like pointing back to their religion about Muslim and that concept is not acceptable. But in fact, like those could be like very old papers or poems which the entire time people did not find them wrong or having wrong concepts because they were like written by Muslim people with the Muslim mindset.
Yeah, these are religious things. Maybe they are much older than the state of India or whatever state. So yeah, strange for them to demand that these people don't make these kind of poems. It's very disturbing. It just shows how these governments treat normal people. Like they are just looking down at people. It's the same for all these governments. I saw one angry guy. He was from India. He was replying to our show. He was very angry.
Where is that?
Let me see what he said real quick.
Yeah, cool.
Okay. So this is Anand from India, and he says, sorry to say, whatever you guys are discussing is without reading the bill of India. India has a problem of unwanted immigrants. If anyone needs asylum, they can apply, but no one likes to pay 30% tax for some piece of mujahideen coming from Pakistan or Bangladesh. I didn't know what to say to him, so I said like maybe come on next episode and discuss about this.
Sure, but like immigrants are everywhere. They are not even like taking in refugees. They are just like regular immigrants. Like they apply their papers and so on. Not sure.
Looking on it.
Yeah, I never see a big problem with immigrants. I do understand some countries have like a fear from of immigrants. Like they think like people will overrun their culture or whatever. But I do understand it, but I think it is not necessary. Like you can embrace other cultures also. Like it doesn't have to replace your existing culture in your region. Because cultures are not only like country based; they are like region, like a certain region in the world, and they are like cross border. They are not, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how many immigrants there are from Pakistan to India. Because, like,
Yeah, I mean, like if I'm only from small country, but if I cross the border from Netherlands to Belgium or from Netherlands to Germany, not suddenly the culture changes, right? It is not within my borders. It's like people have they eat the same foods, they have the same traditions, they have the same holidays, celebrations, and all these things. We have the same
yeah, and
movies and yeah.
yeah, until colonization, actually, they were one country. Like, they have at least the same people in that area.
You're talking about the British colonization.
Yeah, before that,
Oh yeah.
like, yeah, they were not divided before that.
No, exactly. Like the British, they have a history of doing such things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
लोग उल्टा आप ही के पास आते हैं कहते हैं अब आप प्रूफ करो कि आप
It doesn't give a translation. I can't understand it really, but
Same. So, I hope that this is the text translation on YouTube something. But this is what I can search on Facebook. Anonymous Indian groups, and also with my old friend Sandman to create this group party in Facebook. But we hope that we want to know more about in the condition or situation right now in India. But we say that is 不如我求翻譯啦，即係都係種族法被包裝成為呢、個呢、個民主法案咁，即或者即係包裝做人權法咁樣，係咪係都係第二個好嚴重嘅嘢，就係咁咯。
Mm. Okay, so what basically he's saying is that the problem here is that actually that is very obviously discrimination on their religion, but then they were packaged into a very nice bill that is like, we are here to protect your rights from the immigrants and so on. But actually, they are trying to ditch people who are not of their same religion. And like these days, they were like not only in India but a lot of places. They're also trying very hard to like put these ridiculous concepts and package them into very nice bills that you could agree with. At least some people would agree with. Do you have something like that in anywhere else? Or is just like the East being ridiculous?
No, we have totally the same problems here. I don't know what for the USA, AK. I'm not sure if he's still awake, but you know, in here, probably you know that too, Smiler. I mean, people are afraid of the whole immigration thing. But I want to get. I always get angry because they wage wars all over the world and they are causing people to leave their homes and their countries. And
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, and then people want to they want to go to like safe regions, and then they are dealing with these problems again. This is like very disturbing to me. This, if no one leaves their house and their local region for fun, except if you like you love like traveling the world, but no one leaves permanent. You don't just leave your own hometown and stuff, your own behind without there being a very good reasons, and that is like being bombed to the ground, being destroyed.
Wow.
We talk about the Middle East, and you have bombs and constantly.
Yeah, I would say those are two very good reasons.
Yeah.
The funny is, in Middle East, if you're in the highway, you must be careful your driving because you're not sure the broken car next on you is a bomb or not.
Yeah.
You need to be careful. You need to maybe you care about something, maybe rubbish or crashed property at the road. Maybe this would be a bomb.
Yeah, well, if you think about that, it's insane, right? If you have to live like that every day, you have to live.
Every day you would think, should my home next would make a mushroom crowd.
Yeah.
a little bit, poo.
And then the people, they come here for like a safe house, and then people here start complaining like you have different religion. Like
No. This much maybe is much terrible in maybe how to say that we're living in a not a battlefield ground. We don't think about this, but in Edomies, this serious because we know that now in they don't have 24 hours water supply there. They maybe only one day have 1 or 3 hours electrical supporting hours. They're not enough power to support their city. So you can't emergency about it. In Middle East, what do you think? So what would you want to talk about in that way? In every time, just you would think the serious not only the bomb would in the property, maybe you would ever to care about the fighting people. Something armies or something force are coming to your home. You would think about this is American or this is the Indian or just the maybe the Middle East country, the other armies to occupy your room. Because serious, the U.S. armies to take down the road, maybe and the road or take down the home. They would not to think about you are the citizens just living in here. They would think about you are the terrorism same also, and they will crack down you or
yeah,
or make you surrender something. It's quite terrible. If you are the living here people, you would think, which army was coming next?
Yeah.
This is the everyday what they're think about it. It's not only the bomb. The bomb is just you don't close it on here. Just the bombing is not hurting you. But the most dangerous things is maybe the robbery, maybe the real terrorism, or maybe the U.S. government or the other countries' army force to come to your home and and lock your door. And what do you think about this life? And terrible.
Yeah, it is terrible, and every time, like you say, it's different armies. Like every time a different flag they have, they're like
Yeah.
again shooting everyone again.
The German, the Japanese, or maybe to lock your door and say, "Oh, we are army force," and surrender. Everyone say surrender. Oh no, unbelievable.
Yeah, this is unbelievable. Yeah, this is like a real. This is like a real hell these people are living in, and yeah, this is like disturbing.
But this every day in Middle East, the citizens would to face with that. But I hope they will have their experience to control this condition. Maybe you are American, that I say Donald Trump very well. in the other Muslim, and we say Allah. That's right.
This is so difficult to think of, but you're right. You will learn this. You will learn to say how to like Donald Trump in.
Yeah. maybe I support America, or something like this. So then maybe they send the soldiers maybe go to the places to make maybe a search or operation. They're a long time like a police. They're like a Hong Kong police. I know same as you, same this door. Unlock it. This woman is not happy now. That's right. But you would to care about serious to try thing outside, because you're not sure when and where will take the robot on and the robot is built from which party. You didn't know it. You should be afraid. Maybe they would be robbing you or maybe kidnapping you. This is Middle East.
Oh yeah, this is the future too. This is how it's going to be with robots and with drones and these things. You don't even know who they're coming from.
Yeah. Maybe it's luckily you would take in the U.S. force. You can show your pass ID. You can leave. But I think the terrible things is you don't know their language. If you take to the robot by Iran's and you don't know what they're talking about, you must be afraid, because you don't know what you want to do.
It's insane. This is insane. If you think about this, it's insane. This
So
I don't know, Smiler. Do we have anything else we should mention? I mean, we're on 3 hours, I think.
Yeah, we still have that Iran on our agenda, but if you want to talk about it.
Oh yeah, this is it's very it's disturbing. Iran. Yeah.
The protests that are going on right now from the Iranian mistake of shooting down a Ukrainian plane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the entire country is protesting. That's being claimed in the media, but of course, I don't like. This is all personal. What I'm saying now is all personal. Don't take it so serious. But I don't like, of course, the Iranian regime. But Americans, they want to take care of that regime. They want to remove it. So we talked about Western money used for protests and Western influence, and in this case, it's very obvious what's happening. So, yeah, I don't even want to lose too much attention with it. Like again, I see it on Twitter again. There are people saying like there are all kinds of like hundreds and thousands of bot accounts claiming to be Iranians, but they are obviously not. They're usually like accounts created. Some created in like 2012. They were silent until like yesterday. They suddenly start posting about these protests. Like 7 years unused accounts, and they have like 10 followers and stuff.
Yeah, that's true. I've seen that as well. That's not to say that some of these protesters over there aren't pissed off at the Ukraine, or not Ukraine, oh my God, at the Iranian government. I mean, but these bots on Twitter, it's very obvious. Very, very, very obvious.
Of course, but people can be pissed off. It's just a scum government. Like most of these governments are, our own governments are scum governments too. Of course, there are many pissed people. But yeah, the Americans or the NATO, they want their own piece of the pie again, and they will utilize this. They will use this. It's just how it goes.
Yeah, and that's just important to differentiate between the protests and the social media hashtags and all that that's going on right now. It's very easy for these governments to manipulate social media, and it appears that some government is trying to manipulate the protest hashtags in Iran, which is very weird. I think it's a red flag, in my opinion, but it's not to say that the protests themselves going on in Iran right now are fake. It's just to say that the hashtag is being pushed by fake accounts.
Pushed by a fake account?
Yeah, are you talking about that hashtag again? What Iran detests?
Yeah, I think there's a few of them, but the thing is that there's bot accounts pushing the protests on Twitter. Like it's able for people to verify it and everything. Because, like Mark said, there's some accounts that are just now suddenly starting to tweet after having accounts made for like a few years, with just like a few followers.
It's like
Yeah, and the weird thing is, like, they claim to be Iranian, but everything they post are in English.
Yeah, and they seem like a sleeper accounts. They're set up like a sleeper cell, is what they call it. Like you awaken it when you need it. You keep all these bots, these accounts asleep, and then you suddenly awake all
Like
these bots at
zombies.
once.
Yeah, it's like a wake up command.
Yeah.
Yeah, when the government needs you.
I don't even know which government in this case. With that one hashtag, I saw like most tweets coming from like 4 or 5 NATO countries. Strangely, all these NATO countries are actually involved in the conflict. Yeah, this is already weird. Now you can say these are all VPNs, right? But why only use NATO for VPN areas for NATO countries?
It's a little bit too concentrated.
Yeah,
Actually, I checked about hashtag again in that website, and now it's been off the chart for more than 4 days.
exactly. Like in 24 hours it ended after it was kind of exposed.
Yeah.
And now you have the Iran protests hashtag, and you see a lot of bots again and again, and then they're like pro-American suddenly, which is weird.
Hmm.
Because even if you don't like the local government, why would you suddenly be pro-American army? Like, that's never happened before.
Same American citizens would ask this question.
Yeah, it's kind of like they're calling for regime change, which is really fucking weird and is a red flag.
Yeah, don't forget, like, if you call for regime change, then you call for regime change to another Iranian government, right? You want a new Iranian government. You don't want an American government. Like, this is the strange thing. Why? Yeah, why ask for a foreign country you don't even know anything about to be your new government?
Even who have the freedom.
Yeah, yeah, this is weird. This is weird, but yeah.
Install some freedom and democracy.
Yeah, but it's like, if you compare it to like Hong Kong, like you are with Hong Kong, you are like against all this control stuff in China, and you want like Hong Kong to be more autonomous. But then like UK says we will occupy Hong Kong for you. We will take care of Chinese. We will conquer Hong Kong, and then suddenly everyone says like, okay, we will give a government to that country. Or France or whatever. This France says like we will conquer Hong Kong and we okay. Now everyone says like, okay, stop China, please bring in France. We want France to be our new government. This is strange, because you don't know anything about French history. You don't know what kind of people these are.
That was a good comparison.
Some people would agree with that. Like some would actually say, "Yeah, bring in France."
Yeah, maybe.
Yes,
I-
I would.
they're not so nice to their yellow fest protests either, by the way. But
Oh yeah, true.
yeah, no, this is just weird. But yeah, I I honestly I don't know enough about Iranian history to say like how many are legitimate. But yeah, if people look, if people watch like Hollywood movies or they watch like all the media outside of their own country, people want more freedom, of course. But I think the step to ask a foreign government to take over is little too much. But yeah.
Yeah, especially they don't really know about your country. They don't know what to do with you that is the best. Like probably they would just do it their way, like the way that they think it's good, and also at the same time benefiting their own country. So you just be a stepping stone,
Yeah.
and like at the same time get a little bit of more benefit from like the new government.
Yeah, it would just be like, oh, okay, U.S., come over here and do some regime change. All right, well, we're installing an oil company here to siphon all your oil. All right, but we'll change your government. That's exactly what it is, because Iran just discovered, I think it was like 50 billion barrels worth of oil in a new oil field very recently, like in November. So yeah, it would just be like, all right, well, we're taking all your oil, but hey, we'll change your government.
Yeah. Look at all the other countries in the region. What happened there? Like, it's nothing for the better. It's not. These are not like perfect democratic, pro human rights countries now. Everything is destroyed in the region, like we just talked about. Like after NATO armies come in, and they take like oil fields and they leave again, and everything is in chaos.
Well, I mean, like, here's the thing though, like when Saddam Hussein was killed, right? He might not have been the best leader. He might have been a bad guy, right? But he kept Iraq and other Middle Eastern countries in check. And you could argue that before we went in there was no real democracy, right? Afterwards, certainly there's no democracy. But the thing is that you can see is that Saddam Hussein, right? He had control of the region, and the U.S. gave him chemical weapons to attack Iran. So I mean, let's not leave that part of history out.
Yeah, and that the U.S. also supported the whole Ba'ath party of Saddam Hussein to take control over Iraq back then. Saddam Hussein was actually working for the U.S. Army back then. This is like in the 60s, I think, the 1960s.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yep. And they also gave Saddam Hussein a tip where Iranian soldiers would be, knowingly that he would use chemical and weapons of mass destruction against Iran.
Yeah, this is. But then look at Gaddafi in Libya. That's what they also did. Like this Gaddafi said, like I don't want to use U.S. dollars anymore for my trading. I want to go to. I want to use other currencies, and I want to have like an African gold dinar. He actually wanted a new coin based on gold, like Libya.
Did you know? Did you know that Saddam Hussein did the same thing, except it wasn't a new currency? He just wanted to change the Iraqi oil standard from the U.S. dollar to the euro.
Yeah, and the second he said that, he was they were attacked. Yeah.
Yup.
Yeah, and Gaddafi wanted the same thing. He wanted to switch to a gold dinar. He actually went to South Africa to discuss how to print these coins, so to speak, to press these coins in South African coin factories. They make a lot of gold coins, right, in South Africa. So, and there was actually going to be like a council of African nations, and they would like build their own currency based on like gold. And because Libya was a very rich area with gold, with a lot of gold, and yeah, of course he had a lot of haters too. But what happens after these people are gone is even worse than before. That is what people need to know.
Yeah, and with Gaddafi, Libya, there was videos of him literally driving around Libya without any protection in like a like Corvette, a type of car with no hood, and he's just waving around to people on the street, just driving.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't driving, right? But he was sitting in the car, waving around to people. Like similar to what JFK did before he was assassinated. So I mean, the guy couldn't have been hated that much if he was able to do that and drive around his country, without any type of protection, and just waving to people on the street. And apparently, Gaddafi gave every Libyan a house, free electricity, free water, and he gave people, I forget how much, but he gave people a certain amount of money for getting married. So I mean, guy couldn't have been that bad, like to do all that. And he actually housed all Libyans before he housed his own family. So I mean, again, can't be that bad to have done all that.
Yeah, no, and even small things, was actually not so small, but like if you would get, as a female, if you would get pregnant, he would give you like a year off, paid, from work. Like, and that is thing that doesn't happen here in these regions. I mean, a year. So, yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't happen in Europe or the U.S.
Yeah, a lot
I
of
mean,
times.
some places it does. That's not entirely true. I mean, some places, but most places it doesn't.
Go ahead, Smiler.
Okay, I was just saying, like, a lot of times people just say that if you want to know whether that is a good ruler or not, just let them go on the street without any protection with the people around them and see if they get killed, or like how long it takes for them to get killed. So if you could like just go there for like just waving at people and be friendly, and people are just not like trying to hurt him or anything, then it's totally true that the people doesn't hate him that much, not to a point that they would just uh despite having to use VPN and all those stuff, would be tirelessly tweeting about him, like, yeah, using that tag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then compare it to like a U.S. president, for example, has to like drive in a tank these days. That's how secure they feel, right? Like it's totally
Yeah.
armored. These presidential cars are like super armored. They're like
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
It has to be bulletproof.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah, and also before you guys talking about this, I never knew about this good stuff about him. Because online it's always about what he does wrong because of those tags going around. And people would just focus on like how he got killed and who killed him and stuff. But we as outsiders usually don't get to know who he is as a person, who he was.
No, no.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, like obviously he was like a multi billionaire, right? He was profiting big time from his country, and he was becoming a very rich man. And he acted like an elite. He had like many houses and bought like a soccer club in the UK. He bought Manchester United or something, very big soccer club. He just bought this, but at the same time he did give his people a lot too. So yeah, there's two sides of it. So you can focus on him and that he was like a rich leader, rich dictator kind of guy, but there's never any focus on what he actually did with the country, and that is now it is totally fucked up after he's gone. So yeah, there's nothing there anymore.
Well, yeah, how did they expect? Well, I mean, it's obvious they want to destabilize it, but I mean, it's like there's no leader to take over Libya after Gaddafi's assassinated. Like, who are you going to replace Gaddafi with? There's nobody.
No.
That whole region is filled with extremists from various different groups. So, I mean, it was just a bad recipe from the start. But they knew what they were doing, and that's true. You know, they wanted to destabilize the Middle East.
Can you just talk about a little bit more on who else is in there that might have been that might be replacing him after he's gone for now? Like the possible candidate.
There's not. There's none. There's like because
But they have to put someone there.
Well, there is ISIS.
the region is right. Right. The region is so overtaken by various different extremist groups that it would be a hellish scenario for any of them to take over as leading the country. And that's what's really has happened is the extremist groups have taken over regions within Libya. And you know, Libya hasn't been the same since Gaddafi was assassinated. And it's funny because if you listen to Hillary Clinton's speeches about it, you know, she admits what they did, and then she laughs about it, saying we came, he saw, he died. Like, but she also admits that it destabilized the Middle East completely. You know, when you take out a leader like that, and you take out Saddam Hussein, who was able to control Iraq, you know, you have no real control anymore. And then now recently they just assassinated Soleimani. So I mean, at this point, there's not a lot of control over groups within the Middle East anymore, because Soleimani used to control the groups that were anti-ISIS to fight against ISIS. So I mean, now you have several extremist groups within the Middle East that can take over and assume power within different regions.
Then I guess most probably it would not be like a war between Iran and the US, but more like a war within themselves, like those groups in the entire country again.
Yeah, and that I think goes into the whole hashtags thing again, right? That they are trying to push these different groups into destabilizing certain countries.
It's a proxy war again. They're trying to ignite a proxy war again. The U.S. doesn't per se want to fight in these wars. They want to fund other groups to fight in these wars over there, fund the militias. But the thing is that when they were funding groups that were against Syria and Bashar al-Assad, right? They found that a lot of the groups that they were funding were actually ISIS. And there was also a case, I should mention, there was also cases where they literally airdropped ISIS weapons and said it was a mistake. Like, so I mean, they armed ISIS at one point in time. I mean, I don't know if it's still going on, but at one point in time they did arm ISIS, and it was to go against Bashar al-Assad. So I mean, they were arming. When I say they were arming ISIS, they were arming the al-Nusra group within Syria, and in the same retrospect, they want to do that in Iraq against Iran, but I don't see it working because these groups aren't going to be on the U.S.'s side. The only group that might be on the U.S.'s side is the Iraqis to a degree, because a lot of them are against the U.S. now, telling them to leave and get out of the country. So I don't really see how this works, how this will work at all, unless they keep troops on the ground and fight the battle. And if they do that, it wouldn't be a proxy war anymore. It would be the U.S. versus Iran. And I don't think Trump, personally, I don't think that he wants to be a president that starts a big war like that. So
Yeah, we think this is like a faraway thing, but I think it is directly the same as when what we talked about these agents provocateurs and these people infiltrating our own stuff. Like if we talk about like Hong Kong or G20 protests, they are also using the same tactics. They are like they're going to walk next to us, they're going to repeat the same stuff, and then they're going to throw stones, for example. They're going to destabilize things, and they're creating this chaos, and they're also using our movements at such moments to destabilize certain things in with the goals they have in mind for it. Need to have like a hate from the government against us, or to actually destabilize the government. Like this is what they do. We actually see it in our own movements too. And they are using it against these movements too. Like legitimate people protesting against like Iran, for example, they will join with them. They have people in these countries, they will join with these protests, and they will steer it in their own direction. That's what they do. They steer it. It's cheaper than launching your own thing from zero.
yeah, and then that's very important because then they also use social media to steer a protest's direction, and they try to hijack a protest and kind of implant ideas either into the leaders, or they will infiltrate and have people become leaders of a protest and then steer the protest's goals and decisions and all that.
Yeah, these are the type of people that will join with you, and they will say like, oh yeah, I know someone who can print flyers for us. I know someone who can do this for us. They will have all the contacts, and they will have like all the kind of money. They will help you organize. At some point, you will like them so much, right? They're so reliable, and they become then like the speaking point. And then suddenly media shows up at your protest, and for some weird reason, they will always be interviewed. For example, right? So this is how it starts. This is what you will face if you are doing grassroots. They will do it like that. They will always be interviewed. They will tell the story. They will tell most of the stuff you agree with, but they will add something that is what is for their benefit. This is a huge silence. I think most of us, we faced this in the past already. Even with like small, simple protests, like we all face this stuff. So I think many of us understand this already. That this goes on.
Yeah, I think we've covered everything. Unless there's any other topics, I think we should wrap things up.
Sure. Owie has to leave too. See.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's up to you guys. I have to go to the store too. So yeah, maybe finish it up.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree with that, Smiler?
Yeah, I don't really have anything else to add to.
Okay. I don't know. I just want to say for the people who are listening, please share it around, because that's what we depend on. And I'm sure you heard some stuff you won't hear anywhere else. You've heard some stuff tonight that you won't hear anywhere else on the media or whatever. You don't read in newspapers. So if you think that's important for other people to know, then please share it around. And yeah, thanks everyone for listening.
And since Alamo's not here, remember to spade and neuter all your politicians.
Good point.
Thank you.
Thank you.